Imagine this. You're talking to someone who seems perfect, perfectly polite, perfectly charming, perfectly attentive. Not too much, not too little, just right. The kind of person who makes other people say, "Wow, they're amazing. You're lucky to know them." And yet, somewhere deep in your gut, something whispers, something's off. Not loud, not dramatic, just a quiet little pull in your stomach, like your instincts are trying to tap your shoulder. Most people ignore that feeling, and that's exactly how psychopaths slip into your life. Because they don't show up as monsters, they show up as everything you ever wanted. Today, we're breaking down the 5 signs psychologists, profilers, and forensic experts look for. The signs that separate genuine psychopaths from simply difficult people. The signs almost everyone misses until the damage is already done. Let's start with the most deceptive one. The one that looks like love, feels like magic, and is actually their most lethal weapon. Sign number 1. Predatory charm. At first, it feels amazing. They make you feel seen, understood, almost studied, but in a way that feels flattering, not creepy. Their charm isn't natural. It's engineered, customized, tailored to fit you like a glove. They mirror your values, your humor, your speech patterns, your worldview. And people adore them because that's the point. Dr. Robert Hare, the creator of the psychopathy checklist used by the FBI, calls this superficial charm. It's not friendliness, it's a hunting tactic. A psychopath's charm works like a light switch, on when someone useful is watching, off when you're alone and they don't need you to like them. Pay attention to that switch. Normal people don't turn their entire personality on and off like a performance. Psychopaths do. Sign number 2. Emotional emptiness. Spend enough time with them, and you'll notice it. A moment where their face goes blank. Not angry, not sad, just empty. Clinicians call it the dead eyes moment. Neuroscience research from the University of Wisconsin shows that psychopaths literally process emotions differently. Their brain activity in emotional regions is dramatically lower. So they imitate emotions. They study them. They perform them. But they don't feel them. That's why they might smile during tragic news or show rage over a tiny inconvenience. Their emotional reactions don't match the moment because they're not reacting. They're guessing. You're not seeing a cold person. You're seeing a neurological gap, a missing emotional layer. And sooner or later, that mask slips. Sign number 3. Tactical victimhood. Here's the trap almost everyone falls for. Psychopaths weaponize your empathy. They tell stories, convincing, emotional, beautifully crafted stories about how they were betrayed, misunderstood, mistreated. But pay attention. Their stories follow the same formula. They were exceptional. Others were jealous. They were wronged despite being so good. And now, they need you. Your loyalty, your resources, your protection. Oxford researchers found that psychopaths excel at creating narratives designed to bypass your logic and hit your emotions directly. Normal victims tell messy, human stories. Psychopaths tell cinematic ones. And if you question any detail, they look hurt. Not because they feel hurt, but because their manipulation isn't working. Sign number 4. The parasitic lifestyle. This is where things become clear. Psychopaths don't form relationships. They form attachments to resources. Money, status, connections, housing, influence, or simply emotional supply. A study from the University of British Columbia found that psychopaths view people purely in terms of utility. What can you give them? What can you do for them? What do you have that they want? And once they identify the resource, they design the entire relationship around extracting it. They'll isolate you from people who might wake you up. They'll guilt trip you into giving more. They'll create crisis after crisis so you keep rescuing them. This isn't a rough period. This is a pattern, a parasitic, lifelong strategy of taking without giving. Sign number 5. Calculated destruction. Here's the darkest sign, the one most people refuse to believe. Psychopaths don't just hurt people for gain. Sometimes they do it for enjoyment. Harvard research shows that psychopaths actually experience reward center activation, pleasure when they see others in distress. That's why they create chaos out of nowhere, starting conflicts between friends, spreading devastating rumors, and dropping private secrets at the perfect moment to create maximum damage. They test boundaries with small cruelties, a cutting remark, a subtle insult, a joke that isn't a joke. And when they see you tolerate it, they escalate. Their favorite targets? The vulnerable. Children, animals, the elderly, the emotionally wounded. Not because they gain anything, but because it's easy. This isn't insensitivity. This is recreational harm. The escape plan. The gray rock method. Once you recognize these signs, the question becomes, how do you escape? The answer is not confrontation, not honesty, not talking it out. That works with normal people, but psychopaths aren't wired for empathy or fairness. Psychopathy research units warn that confronting them triggers revenge. Calculated, patient, devastating revenge. The safest strategy is the gray rock method. Become uninteresting, unemotional, predictable, boring. No reactions, no vulnerability, no information they can use. Psychopaths need stimulation, conflict, drama, emotion. When you stop feeding them attention, they lose interest and move on to a new target. Quietly build your support network. Document everything. Protect your resources. Prepare your exit. Your silence is not weakness. It's strategy. Why normal conflict strategies fail? You know those healthy relationship tools? Communicate openly, set boundaries, appeal to empathy, explain how you feel. With psychopaths, these strategies don't just fail, they backfire catastrophically because they don't understand empathy, fairness, mutual respect, emotional accountability. A 30-year neuropsychological review found that psychopaths process social conflict through different brain regions entirely. You're speaking a language their brain doesn't even register. And therapy? Mediation? Counseling? Studies show it often makes them better manipulators, teaching them the vocabulary of emotion they don't actually feel. You can't fix what isn't there. The recovery process. Healing from a psychopath isn't like healing from a breakup. It's rebuilding the part of you that learned to doubt your own reality. Harvard trauma specialists call this coercive control, the slow erosion of your confidence, intuition, and identity. Recovery starts with one word: validation. Your experiences were real. Your confusion was normal. Your reactions were human. The attachment you felt wasn't love. It was a neurochemical addiction
created by their intermittent reinforcement. And once you understand that, you start to reclaim yourself. Survivors often describe one moment, a moment of clarity, when the psychopath's behavior suddenly becomes obvious, transparent, almost laughably predictable. That moment is the beginning of freedom. The hardest truth. People always ask, can a psychopath change if someone loves them enough? The scientific answer is no. Not because they're evil, but because the neurological structures needed for empathy simply aren't there. A massive study from the University of California found that therapy doesn't fix psychopathy. It makes them more skilled at manipulation. The most ethical approach is harm reduction, not transformation. This isn't pessimism, it's science. Final insight: the pattern never lies. Here are the 5 signs again: weaponized charm, emotional emptiness, tactical victimhood, resource extraction, recreational destruction. Anyone can be difficult. Anyone can have flaws. Anyone can have bad days. But this combination, this constellation of traits, that's psychopathy. And the most important thing you can understand is this: their behavior isn't personal. It's predatory. Your confusion wasn't naive. It was human. Your instincts weren't wrong. They were early warnings. Psychopaths don't rely on intelligence. They rely on your doubt. When something feels off, listen. Trust your instincts. Document everything. Protect your peace. Your well-being depends on it.